Hello friends, now I'll be reading the Hindu editorial of 1st April 2023 at 80 words per minute in 5 seconds. Begin. The United States Department of Commerce and its Indian counterpart have recently concluded a memorandum of understanding in March 2023 to ensure that subsidies by each country do not come in the way of India's semiconductor dreams as espoused by the much publicized semiconductor policy launched in December 2021. The US Department of State has also engaged with India to beef up sector specific export control laws in the semiconductor space, which India has agreed to, as in recent media reports. While these seem preconditions in a long dance orchestrated by bureaucrats on both sides, will they lead to a global major such as Intel to invest in India in order to set up a greenfield 300mm water fabrication plant costing over $10 billion. The premise of this question is based on the ongoing 2-year dance between Intel and Indian government ministers who were seen courting the Intel CEO at Davos and New Delhi, hoping that Intel Foundry Services will build a greenfield plant, most likely in Dholara, Gujarat. The facts on the ground do not support such an eventuality in a world where Intel remains preoccupied with setting up fabs inside the US. So, where does Indian semiconductor policy need to go from here? The semiconductor laboratory was set up in Mohali in 1983 by the then central government with the vision of creating an electronics ecosystem in an era where Keltron, Aptron, and Webel were fledgling entities in a pre-liberalized India aimed at consumer electronics. However, shocks of the opening of markets for consumer goods in 1991 and a fire that broke out in 1989 at the SCL dashed these hopes. Some funding from the central exchequer to revive the plant to a 180 nanometer node pilot line to meet the strategic needs of the country did come by, but the facility has by and large remained an unfulfilled dream in its mission of creating a domestic semiconductor ecosystem. SCL Mohali can be viewed as a technology stack similar to others such as Aadhaar, Arogya Setu, and the UPI, acting as a force multiplier effect, encouraging many integrated circuit design startups in India to consider designing for India. The institutional framework for such a shift in focus already exists with the transfer of SEL back to the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology after a 15-year stint at laboratory within the Department of Space as part of the new semiconductor policy announcement in December 2021. However, a year into such an announcement, no joint venture partner has been found, keeping SEL employees in limbo. During this period, the focus at MIT system aimed at attracting Intel into India to set up a fab. This can be inferred from the wording of the request for proposals and signaling from MIT ministers. However, Intel primarily operates at 22 nanometer node and 300 millimeter, requiring over $10 billion in upgrade cost to the SEL. An alternative approach could be to leverage human and capital assets at the SEL to build on what exists in a targeted manner to jumpstart the semiconductor mission by taking advantage of recent technological breakthroughs in a class of semiconductors that do not need advanced lithography equipment. The more and more segment of 180 nanometer node involving mixed signal analog wide bandgap for RF and power markets leveraging existing lithography capability already in place at the SEL. In this scenario, an investment of $50, $100 million may result in the development of Indian solutions for automobile electronics, PV inverters, 5G infra power amplifiers, railway electronics, creating the Indian equivalent of Bosch, Siemens, ABB, Mitsubishi Electric, Thales, and ELTA. However, the upgrade has to be backed by subsidies aimed at fabulous design houses with proven design willing to fabricate at the SEL in the 180 nanometer plus node. The subsidies have to be aimed at global design companies with products aimed at India specific markets such as motor drives for BLDC fans or e-bike chargers. Unfortunately, the existing DLI PLI schemes provide no such incentives to proven global fabulous design companies. The recent efforts made by the Indian Semiconductor Mission to open upstream supply chain are welcome because an existing facility like the SEL will benefit from this. But this is not enough in itself unless coupled with the incentives defined above and also upgrades targeted at different sets of players. The stakes are high as a lack of clarity and inaction may lead to India completely missing out of the semiconductor fabrication bus. Yet again, unless there is course correction on incentive targets, finally to execute this vision in the next 5 years, the SCL needs a full-time director with prior more foundry experience than have a career scientist from the Department of Space, as is the case now. Stop. Please join the Telegram group in the comment section for the PDF. Thank you.